First Frisbee video of the fall 2023. I want to start with a really simple concept that I think will help a lot of us become better throwers. And the idea, the whole point of this video is just going to be, how do you stand when you have the Frisbee, and what do you do and where do you look as soon as you catch a Frisbee? So I've pulled this footage from Ring Pony. This is the World Club Championship. This is the final. And there are just really good throwers all over the field. So I think there's a lot we can learn from just in a few points. And we're trying to pay attention to, what do good throwers do as soon as they catch the Frisbee? Where do they look? How do they stand? So here we've got a catch. A very good thrower just caught the Frisbee, and boom, we can already kind of get a sense of like what a dynamic thrower does the moment they catch the Frisbee. So I think I see this player looking diagonally across the field, and by doing that, they're opening themselves up to the whole play. So they can kind of get a good vision of the width of the field. They can see all of their offensive teammates. They can see a lot of the defense happening. They're opening themselves up to the full play of the full field. And I'm trying to contrast this to what we normally do. So I think when I watch us scrimmage, I see a lot of us will kind of put 1 foot here and then 1 foot here, and then we are staring right down this pipe. And we're only looking at this lane, and we're kind of squaring ourselves up with the end zone. And here this player is squaring himself up with the full field, the full action, opening himself up to the whole field of play here. And I think this contrast is pretty much the moral of the story here. And I'm just going to show a whole bunch of touches that I think support my theory here. So as I roll again, here we're going to watch this catch. This player is about to, as soon as they catch it, they are going to turn and look this way. And when I watch us scrimmage, often I will see this player immediately look here, or maybe just square up and look this way. But by quickly turning and opening up the field, this is the weak part of the defense up here. This is kind of opening up the field for more offensive action. And just by orienting yourself over there, it puts a lot of pressure on the defense, and you can find open people. So that immediate stall zero, I'm going to look away from where the disc came from to new space, really enables us to do a lot. I like this touch a lot. So here we're going to see the catch is happening here, and boom, I'm already liking what I'm seeing from this player. So if we just pay attention to their feet, right foot here, left foot here. This player's hips are like that. Let's see if I can draw that a little better. Their hips are like this. And you can see the defender's hips are kind of with them like that right in there. So I'm trying to talk about like squaring up with the mark is, I think, if I drew a little square here, squaring up with the mark is one key. Another cue, I meant to say cue instead of key. Another cue would be, hey, just look diagonally across the field. That way, right, he can see the whole thing. And I think what a lot of us would have done in this position is we would have gone left foot here, right foot here. I think we would have had our hips like this, and we would be just staring right down the pipe like that. And we would have just been closing ourselves off to the full width of the field, to the full action. We would have just been looking down this lane and only challenging this lane. But I think we can learn a lot from, hey, just how does this person set up their feet as soon as they catch the Frisbee? Here's another one, right? We just finished the touch, and now what is this person doing with their feet? We got right foot here, left foot here, and we are putting pressure diagonally across the field. I think a lot of us would have just immediately looked right down the pipe into the end zone. You can still see how even a few stalls in, this player, you can like trace his vision. He is like looking across the field diagonally. He is seeing the full scope of all his 6 teammates. Even now, right, high stall, he's thinking, okay, I got to get this reset off. He is like perpendicular to the end zone. So if I just drew his hips here, his hips are like this, right? And the end zone is this way. I think when I watch us often, especially in high stalls, we will get our hips. Our hips would be like this, and we would just be staring right down the pipe. So by just turning his hips and relaxing, I think he really opens himself up into the reset space and is going to make this an easier throw for himself. That's a really good example of just turning and seeing the next throw. So similar to one that I've already drawn, I think a lot of us would have caught this swing and immediately been looking this way. But here he turns and immediately sees this space and is looking actively for a throw. Here again, just like pay attention to the way he sets up his feet, right? So here, right foot is back, left foot is up. He is putting pressure this way across the field, right? He is forcing his mark to recognize that. He's forcing the whole defense to recognize that. Again, I'm really just going to hammer home the same points. I think a lot of us would have gone left foot here, right foot here, and just been straight down the field like this, right? And juxtapose that with him, he's going across the field, putting pressure on the whole field and allowing himself to see everything that's happening. Here's another really good one, right? Like look at a lot of what would we do, right? Think about what would you do in this position. You probably would have had left foot, right foot, and then you would just be staring right here at the cone of the end zone. But what does he do? He goes right foot, left foot, and then he is staring across the field, right? He is perpendicular to the end zone. He recognizes, hey, I'm on the sideline. I'm going perpendicular on the end zone. The other thing I'd like to point out is, and we could have seen this in previous clips, but just look at how he is standing, right? Two hands on the disc. The disc is in the middle of his stomach, right? He's got a little action in his legs. This is like triple threat in basketball, right? Imagine this player holding a basketball and standing on a basketball court. This guy could shoot, he could dribble, he could pass, that's the triple threat, right? He has three options here. This player is really close to their backhand. They're really close to their forehand. They could throw a hammer or something. It's just having this disc in this neutral position, this relaxed position with a little load in your legs, puts a lot of pressure on your mark because you don't know. You're not showing. You're not giving anything away. Even right now, right? Stall's getting high. He's totally relaxed, disc in the middle. He's not really showing which throw am I trying to give. And it forces the mark to it gives the mark zero clues, right? The mark doesn't know what's going to happen. And notice how this whole process, he has just stared across the field, right? He has oriented himself and is staring across the field. He can see this, right? He can see this off the left of his eye, and he can see this guy here off the right of his eye. If we back all the way up and we think about, okay, well, what would we have been doing in this position? If we had our left foot and our right foot and we were staring right here, I think we only would be seeing this and we wouldn't recognize the opportunities to throw a swing or to find other options. We would just be staring down the pipe thinking, okay, how do I throw a turnover in this tight space? Another really good example of immediately catching this one. Caught the frisbee came from here, and now my eyes are immediately over here. A lot of us, I see, hey, I caught the frisbee. We would set our eyes going right back to where the frisbee came from. Here's a really good example of, he's throwing and going, but he turns fast. I want to go back. Right now, in this moment, he is now looking again diagonally across the field, right? He's got this vision across the field. I think a lot of us would just kind of get stuck staring right down there. I think just these diagonal looks are allowing him to really read the defense and see what's going on. Look at how he's standing here, right? So the force is backhand. And if I just pay attention to his feet, right? So his right foot is a little bit behind his left foot. He's kind of got his hips square with the way that the mark's hips are, right? So if I just square off his hips to the mark's hips, I get little 90-degree angles. That's what I mean when I'm trying to say he's squared up with the mark. And his eyes are looking break side. He's putting a lot of pressure on the mark. He's forcing this mark to defend the break side space. And he's got the disc in a neutral position. He's got the disc in the middle of his stomach, right? He can get to his backhand fast. He can get to his forehand fast. He's very dynamic here. And he's not giving away any clues to the mark, and he's forcing the mark to be honest. Look at, so immediately caught the Frisbee on this side. And immediately, the first look, his head is diagonally across the field, seeing the whole field here. And then we finally get a little goal. So a lot of really good examples of just simple things like what does a good thrower look like when they're holding the Frisbee? Where does their head go the moment that they touch the Frisbee? All right, next clip that I want to show, I think my first clip was a little longer than I wanted it to be, so I'm going to try to go faster now. Now that I've made my point and emphasized it, I'm just going to try to quickly. So here we've got a catch, and let's pay attention to where does the vision go. So here we're looking diagonally across the field, immediately opening up ourselves up to the rest of the field. Here again, the head is looking diagonally across the field. They can see all of the action, all of their teammates. Immediately looking away from where the disc just came from, right? A lot of us would be staring this way. Here we go, another one diagonally across the field. Look at this face right here. This is a perfect example of just opening yourselves up to the full action of the field. This allows him to see all of his teammates, the full action. Very early in the stall, he did that. Right out of this pump fake, immediately, this is like less than stall 3, I think. And we are already looking diagonally across the field, seeing a lot of action. Immediately look away from where the Frisbee came, right? So if I back it up, catch the Frisbee, and we're looking to attack this lane here. Boom. I think a lot of us would have immediately looked, oh, how can I come back? Or maybe even looked kind of to this space here. Just opening the Frisbee up simply with your posture and where do you look? Here we go, a touch on the sideline. Immediately looking, well, this is going to be a break side throw. This one, let's back up and kind of switch gears a bit here. So as I watch this, this is basically pit drill in my mind. So here we just imagine pit drill. Let's just like set the ground. So pit drill, right? You catch an up line, and then you throw a little dishy. Right, you throw this little dishy, and then you run across the field here, and then your teammate would bust up the line. And this is the drill where I ask you to throw the inside backhand, right? So the outside backhand would just be the outside throw would just be a forehand here to this person. And when I ask you to throw the inside backhand, I'm asking you to kind of pivot across and hit this person on the upline. So that's pit drill right there, and that is like, I'm just throwing this comment in there as like an example of like why pit drill matters and how it shows up on the field. So we can watch this again. Right, so here we are coming across, catch our dishy, pump our outside throw, hit our inside backhand, boom, there's just pit drill showing up on the field. Immediately, like this is less than stall 3, and we are already looking Here we're just looking flat across the field. But he can kind of see, he can see the vision across the field. Here we're going to have a call. Look at how this posture opens himself up to, he's now like putting pressure just with his posture. He's putting pressure this way on the field, right? A lot of us probably would be putting pressure this way on the field with our posture. That was another look at pit drill, right? Just catch this swing. I want you to throw the inside backhand. He takes a look at it. It's not there, but pit drill can help you do that. Here we're early in the stall. He's about to throw this break, but you can see with his head, he is looking this way across the field, seeing a lot of pressure. He's looking at this one out of the corner of his eye. Allows him to see the whole field, allows him to see all his teammates, allows him to see all of his defenders that he has to process. Here we go, right off the centering, right? Pole goes out of bounds. Pay attention to this guy's feet. Right foot is back, left foot is up. We are putting pressure with our hips and our eyes, putting pressure this way across the field, opening ourselves up. Here we're going to see that like traditional square with the end zone footwork that I've tried to draw a few times. So right foot, left foot, square straight with the end zone. I think, you know, there's always a time and a place for these things, but here again, we see right foot back, left foot square diagonally across the field. Here we're square with the end zone with our feet, and that's because we're about to uncork a backhand. Just caught the pole and we're throwing a centering pass and boom, we're already there. Left foot forward, right foot back, just with our posture, putting pressure to the break side, squaring up with the mark, putting pressure just with our posture through the mark. Here we can see it again, left foot forward, right foot back, squaring up with our defender, putting pressure on the break side. Caught the frisbee and immediately looking break side, putting pressure on the break side through the defense. The rest of this clip I have in here because this is a really good example of how you cut to the break side. So this is going to be the flat. This is a forced backhand, right? And this is like, I guess people call it the flat side. I like to call it the wide side. But the mark gets flat on this side because this is forced backhand. So they go straight up mark. And here is an example of something that we practice all the time. Ryan just pushed a little vertically, and now he's going to slash horizontally across the field, and we're going to hit this inside. So I just want to highlight this example of what a good break side continue cut looks like. So he's not very vertical. If we back it up here, he's breaking down from the 39-yard line, right? This is kind of where he breaks it down, and he's going to catch right at the 36, right? So he lost 3 yards on this move, right? His like vertical change was 3 yards. So it is a little negative. It's not perfectly flat. It's a little negative, but it's flat across the field and boom. So that is like it's great defense here, but that is a good break side continuation slash cut, which I think we drill often. Game. So we're just going to see a heavily contested upline fall down. And as soon as we stand up, a good example of just pressure across the field, right? So I wanted to show a different team doing it so that we know it's not just a ring of fire thing. This is just what good players do when they have the frisbee. Get into your reset. Look, 90 degrees now, right? Hit left foot, right foot. End zone's down here, so I'm perpendicular to the end zone, and I'm just seeing my full reset space, and I'm sticking with it. Go back to the World Club Championship final and get some drone footage here. And let's also look at pony now instead of ring, right? So this is not just a ring thing or a truck stop thing. This is an everybody thing. So here Pony's got the disc, right? Left foot here, right foot there, putting pressure across the field like this. Watch them work through this progression here. As soon as Jimmy gets the frisbee, right? Catches here, boom. Look, got his head, whipped his head around, right? Looking now across the field like this. Again, I really think a lot of us would be having our heads here, maybe even having our heads here. And here we can see Jimmy's feet, right? Left foot, boom, right foot, squaring up with the defender, putting pressure on the break side plane here, putting pressure through the defense. This is a really good example of like, yeah, just because you're standing staring at the break side doesn't mean you can't throw to the force side here, right? So I think just by standing like this, he forces the mark to respect the break side, to be ready for that quick shimmy to the backhand. And you can just, with this footwork, you can rotate your core and just throw it to the force side, right? So standing like this does not, I want to be really clear, standing like this does not turn yourself off to the force side. You can throw force side throws by putting, if your posture is putting pressure on the break side, you can still throw to the force side. So this is a really good example of why I think the posture is important and why I think it does not limit you. It doesn't shut yourself off to the force side. Here we go again, right? This is like not even a great thrower and he's doing it. So this is just good fundamentals. What are we? We're less than stall 3. Eyes are across the field, opened up to the whole offense. We're not just, I think a lot of us, I think many of us would just be staring right at this cone. I think we would have our left foot here, and I think we would have our right foot here, and all we would be staring at is this cone. The only thing we would see is this guy right here. But contrast that with what he's looking at. He is across the field. Whoops. He is across the field. He can see this action. He can see this action. So he is seeing his whole 6, right? He can see the whole structure of his team, and he can see the whole structure of the defense. And he's not doing anything special athletically. It's just how do I stand and where do I put my head? There, like, I think the play is going to stop on a call, but you can already see this person working into that posture. Left foot back, right foot forward, squared up with the mark. We can see how, if we were still playing, and maybe I'm cherry picking, but we can see how this guy is putting pressure across the field along a diagonal. Here's another clip from Pony. So Jimmy's going to get his touch here. And right now, I would argue that Jimmy's looking diagonally across the field, opening himself up, seeing the whole thing here. And I'm really trying to emphasize, I think a lot of us would just be staring right down this pipe right here, kind of closing ourselves off to the action on the field. Ben's going to take a look. He's looking down the pipe on this one, but boom, now that he's looked it off, I think in this moment, he's got his head diagonally across the field. I think he can see all of his teammates here. And he's going to end up hitting Jimmy on this around, right? So he is seeing the full spread. He didn't get stuck staring down the pipe. He was able to see the full spread of his teammates. Here's a great example from Jimmy, right? Just take a moment, think about his feet, and think about what you would do if you were a thrower. Left foot, right foot. Posture is across the field like this. He's opening himself up to everything in the field, right? What would you be doing? Think about it. Would you have your left foot here and then your right foot here, and would you just be staring straight down this pipe right here? I think the answer for a lot of us is yes. This is going to turn into a really good, just a great throw. Let's go back to looking at ring. They're going to have a little action here. I really want to focus just on Jack when he gets his touch coming up. So this is their little end zone dominator. Catches here, right? So from the catch, all in one fluid motion, boom. As soon as he gets this frisbee, his head is diagonally across the field, just like this, putting lots of pressure on the defense. He is going to throw it, to the cone, right? He's going to do that thing where he just throws the frisbee straight to the cone, right down the pipe, a lot of us would just be staring straight at that cone. But notice how he's staring across the field, opening himself up to everything, and he is still able to hit a front cone throw when he has that opportunity. So looking across the field does not prevent you from just hitting someone at the cone, right? You don't have to stare at the cone in order to hit someone. You can look across the field and still challenge the front cone if you want to. Another clip of Jimmy just getting a touch. Here we go. What are we less than stall to? Right foot is up, left foot is back, kind of squared up with the defender, putting pressure across the field with his head just like this, right? Again, take a moment. Would your head be like this? Would you be just looking down the pipe in this moment? Look at how he opens himself up to the whole field. We get a call here that stops things, but pay attention to his posture here.